Hey everyone, my name is Chloe and today I am here to do a mid-month book haul because as you guys know, I almost always do a book haul at the end of the month or the beginning. You usually see it at the beginning of the next month. That is everything I hauled and unhauled for the month. But we just had our library book sale and you guys, it was everything under $1. Like, just let that sink in. Everything under $1. So hardbacks were $1 and everything else was 50 cents. Everything else. And so we got a lot. It started Friday and I almost never go on Fridays just because then that means I have to take the kids, which is just kind of less fun, but I thought we had nothing going on. I kind of wanted to do it. I knew Saturday was going to be a little bit busy and I didn't know if I would go. And this library specifically doesn't always have the greatest things, but I'm wondering if it's because I don't go early enough. So it started at 9 o'clock. And like I said, I wasn't in a huge rush. And so we just kind of meandered there and got there at 9:10. And you guys, it was nuts. Like, when I go, normally it's like busy, but not that busy. And I don't know. I don't think it's normally always under $1. So I think it was the cheaper prices and just the fact of being there right at 9. There were people everywhere. And I had all 3 kids with me. And I was like wishing I had leashes for my kids because it was so stressful at first. But then by like 10 o'clock, it had cleared out. So I think there's just a mad dash because people were carrying out boxes and boxes of things. And so yeah, and I think I've talked about it before. This library specifically, if you want to play with a card or anything, you have to go to like the regular Friends of the Library bookstore, which is $2 for a hardback and $1 for a paperback, I think, or something. So we inevitably always go find something there too, because I don't carry cash. And so I always have to pay with a card, and they don't have card readers in the library book sale room. So you have to go to the Friends of the Library. Long story short, so we go Friday, and then I've been waiting for a specific book from the library, and it was on the Hot Picks shelf, and I missed it on Friday. I didn't even notice. I didn't even look because normally I don't like that kind of stress, but I saw it online. And so then Saturday I went back by myself, and I had 10 minutes. I set a 10-minute timer and went back through the book sale, and I think they had added some things maybe or just rearranged or something because I found more things. And so for my sake, I wanted to do a library book sale haul so it's less overwhelming at the end of the month. So let's just get into the books. So first, we ended up getting like 30 books for $16.50, I think is about what it was. My kids got some different picture books. They got a Paw Patrol Seek and Find. They got a couple Minnie Mouse books, a couple other things. But I'm just going to show you the middle grade, and then I got 4 middle grade and a lot of adult books. So let's get into it. Okay, so these first 2 I bought for me, in hopes that my daughter will like them, but they are Mary-Kate and Ashley books. And you guys, The Adventures of Mary-Kate and Ashley, The Case of the Funhouse Mystery, and it's got pictures inside, and this is so much nostalgia for me, you guys. So much nostalgia. And so my daughter, we have like a novelization of The Grinch, the Jim Carrey one, and she loves it. And this is very similar in that it's like, it's just regular text, and then in the middle there's pictures. So I'm hoping she'll like this. And maybe, I don't know, do you guys know, is there a way to watch these old videos? Because I would love that so much. And then this one is Two of a Kind, which I think is based on the show Two of a Kind, which was a part of TGIF. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you are far younger than I am. But TGIF and Two of a Kind used to be so great. Like, again, so much nostalgia for me. I hope we love them. Next is Awkward, and this is by, well, I'm not even going to try to say her name because I know I will butcher it, but I just got Brave, which is the second in this series, from Amanda from Curly Reader, and I have read Brave, but I have not read Awkward, which is the first in the series. And this is just about like middle school, I think it's middle school, just awkwardness and how to survive it. And this one says, cardinal rule number 1 for surviving school: don't get noticed by the mean kids. Cardinal rule number 2 for surviving school: seek out groups with similar interests and join them. So Brave, which is the second, is a 5-star book for me. So this is a graphic novel. I don't know if I said that, but I love middle grade graphic novels, and this one was definitely no different. And so I'm really excited to have it on my shelf. And then the last like middle grade that I bought is It Happened in the White House. And this is all just like extraordinary tales from America's most famous homes. So we're not quite ready for this yet, but I think it'll be really interesting just to hear different stories of things that happened in the White House and kind of personify the house. I don't know. Can you believe that the White House was almost painted in camouflage colors during World War II? Never knew that. Did you know that Thomas Jefferson stored prehistoric bones from the Lewis and Clark expedition in the East Room? Didn't know that. And could it be only Washington gossip that some presidents were afraid to sleep in certain White House bedrooms because of ghosts? I do believe that for sure. So this is going to be really fun. I'm excited to read it with my daughter one of my daughters when they get older. So now let's get into the adult books. It's quite the hefty stack. Okay, first we'll start with the mass market paperbacks. I did not want to buy very many mass market paperbacks because I don't really like reading from them. Honestly, I don't love it. And I feel like finding them for 50 cents isn't that big of a deal. Like I'm such a cheapskate, you guys. Like I spend so little on books. But so I bought a few though. A lot of Mary Higgins Clark. You guys may know that I have kind of fallen down a Mary Higgins Clark rabbit hole in the last 6 months to a year because of Tara from Buzzwords Books. She talks about her every now and again, but Mary Higgins Clark is one of those OG thriller authors that just like has a lot of nostalgia for me. Not necessarily that her books are the best ever, but a lot of nostalgia for me. So I bought 4. So the first one is On the Street Where You Live. And this, I think, is about a woman who, following a nasty divorce and the trauma of being stalked, criminal defense attorney Emily Graham leaves Albany to work in Manhattan. Craving roots, she buys her ancestral home, a Victorian house in the seaside resort town of Spring Lake, New Jersey. Her family sold the house in 1892 when somebody died. And then now a pool is being dug and a skeleton is found, and it sounds interesting. Yeah, so we'll see. Next is Pretend You Don't See Her. So all these covers are textured, like the font is risen, and I really like it. This one says, so it's Pretend You Don't See Her. Let's see. This is about Lacey Farrell, a rising star in the Manhattan real estate scene. One day while showing a luxurious skyline co-op, Lacey is witness to a murder and the dying words of the victim. The dying woman is convinced that the attacker was after her dead daughter's journal, which Lacey gives to the police, but not before making a copy for herself. It's an impulse that later proves nearly fatal. Placed in the witness protection program and sent to live in the Minneapolis area, Lacey must assume a fake identity, at least until the killer can be brought to trial. There she meets a radio talk show host, etc., etc. Sounds interesting. At once seductive and frightening, Pretend You Don't See Her is the mistress of high tension at her ingenious best. I don't know. Sounds good. Next is Nighttime is My Time. And this one is about historian Jean Sheridan returns to Cornwall on Hudson, New York, excited about her 20-year high school reunion at Stonecroft Academy. But a dear friend of hers soon becomes the 5th woman in class to meet a sudden mysterious end. Then Jean receives a taunting fax, you guys. These books are so old. Let's see. How old is this book? Oh, it says 2004, so not really that old, but receives a fax about a child she gave up for adoption whose existence she had kept a secret, but whose life may now be in danger. For present at the reunion is the owl, a murderer on a mission of vengeance against women who once humiliated him, and Jean is his final intended victim. Yikes. And then the last one is Weep No More, My Lady. And this says, Cypress Point, the ultimate California spa where the rich and famous pursue health and beauty in unalloyed luxury. But lovely young Elizabeth Lang is after something else. The truth about the death of her beloved sister, a famous actress who plunged from the balcony of her Manhattan penthouse. Uh-oh. What she finds will determine the fate of Ted Winters, the handsome business tycoon who stands accused of her murder. So, yeah, this says, a climax to leave one breathless. Sounds good. So those are the Mary Higgins Clarks that I bought. Let me know if you've read any. I think what I'm finding is her like way back list is not my favorite, like the 80s and 90s, but maybe these early 2000s ones will be better. I don't know. Next is Lisa Scottolini, Running from the Law. So I honestly don't know anything about this except that I looked on Goodreads and it is a standalone. And Lisa Scottolini is an author that I love. She is a thriller author that I just really like. And part of the reason I think I really like her is because she also writes memoirs and she's funny. And I just really enjoy her. So this says, wisecracking Rita Marone plays to win, whether it's poker or trial law. She defends a prominent federal judge accused of sexual harassment, and the judge just happens to be her boyfriend's father. But all bets are off when the case turns deadly and Rita finds herself at the center of a murder. Never one to bluff, she probes deep into the crime, uncovering a secret life of suspects in shocking places. To end this killer's game, Rita has got to lay it all on the line for the highest stakes ever. So the premise itself doesn't sound like the most intriguing to me, but if anybody can do it well, it'll be Lisa Scottolini. And so it says, filled with fast-paced action, tantalizing plot twists, and the unforgettable Rita, a completely satisfying novel of suspense and human drama. So I really like strong female characters and plot twists, fast-paced. I believe it. I'm ready to read it. And then last is Barbara Delinsky's 3 Wishes. So I bought this one, and I almost semi-regret it because Barbara Delinsky is very hit and miss for me, and I can't remember, I think I looked up what date this was published because her old ones, I think, are ones that I really don't like. 1997, so I'm a little sketchy about this one, but it says, in this heart-tugging story of love and redemption that is surprisingly powerful, a woman's life is miraculously changed forever after she's caught in a snowstorm in a picturesque Vermont town. So this would be a really great winter read. It's about waitress Bree Miller. She wakes up in the hospital after a blizzard in a tiny Vermont town, and she can't remember the accident that landed her there. I love the amnesia trope, so she's certain of one thing. She's been magically granted 3 wishes. Are the things Bree longs for, a home, a soulmate, a family, now within her grasp? After all, one of her wishes seems to have already come true. At her bedside is Tom Gates, a renowned author who's come to town to make sense of his fame and who, as the collision's only witness, is determined to make sure Bree is safe and sound. So, yeah, it sounds good. I like this. So, those are the mass markets I bought. Now on to the stack of regular trade paperbacks. Okay, these are sitting on my lap, stacked precariously high, so let's just hope they don't topple as I go through them. So the first one is Sunrise by Karen Kingsbury. So this is number 1 in her Sunrise series, which is a part of her Baxter family series. I don't know how it all works, but I read the prequel to the Baxters, which is like The Baxters, maybe it's called. I don't know. And it is a prequel that just came out in the past year or two, and it was really intriguing to me because you get to know the whole family, but just like in bits and bobs that gets you intrigued to read all of their stories. And so this is one of them, one of their stories, and so I'm excited to read it. I'm not sure whose story it is. It's got a lot of people, even just in the beginning, so I'm not sure, but it's number 1 in a series, so we'll see. Next is one that I have heard about over and over and over and over. I feel like it is a classic that needs to be read, and I have yet to read it, and that is Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. So I know so many people that this is like a favorite book of all time. I don't know. It's big. It is big. But I think it'll be really good. It's a Christian fiction, and I've heard nothing but good things. Next is When We Believed in Mermaids by Barbara O'Neill. So this is about, it says her sister has been dead for 15 years when she sees her on the TV news. Josie Bianchi was killed years ago on a train during a terrorist attack. Gone forever. It's what her sister Kit, an ER doctor in Santa Cruz, has always believed. Yet all it takes is a few heart-wrenching seconds to upend Kit's world. Live coverage of a club fire in Auckland has captured the image of a woman stumbling through the smoke and debris. Her resemblance to Josie is unbelievable and unmistakable. With it comes a flood of emotions, grief, loss, and anger that Kit has finally has a chance to put to rest by finding the sister who's been living a lie. After arriving in New Zealand, Kit begins her journey with the memories of the past, of days spent on the beach with Josie, of a lost teenage boy who'd become part of their family, and of a trauma that has haunted Kit and Josie their entire life. So, sister story is great. I really am just really intrigued by this. It says a story of childhood and innocence lost in the long hidden secrets, lies, and betrayals of two sisters must face in order to make themselves whole as adults. So it sounds intense but really good. And I've read some Barbara O'Neill, more of her like chick lit women's fiction, so I don't know how she'll do with this deeper stuff, but I'm intrigued. I was really like into the historical fiction, so this is the first. This is A Woman's Place by Lynn Austen. So this is under the storm clouds of destruction that threaten America during the early 1940s. This unlikely gathering of women will experience life in sometimes startling new ways as their beliefs are challenged and they struggle toward a new understanding of what love and sacrifice truly means. So that's all I really care. I love like multiple women coming together during wartime. I don't know why. That's kind of like a weirdly specific trope that I like. But this says they watch their sons, their brothers, and their husbands enlist to fight a growing menace across the seas. And when their nation asked, they answered the call as well. And I think that is something that like I love reading about, kind of the female side of the war, or the home front side, because you guys, I am not married to a military man. I don't have firsthand experience with it, but I have some friends who are married to military men, and the spouses and the families are equally as heroic as the men. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how they do it, and it's awesome. So Virginia longs to find a purpose beyond others' expectations. Helen is driven by a loneliness money can't fill. Rosa is desperate to flee her in-laws' rules, and Jean hopes to prove herself in a man's world. So I feel like 3 to 4 women is a sweet spot. So hopefully this is great. Lynn Austen, I know, is also a Christian fiction author. I don't know if this is like specifically Christian, but we'll see. Next is The Party by Robin Harding. So I have heard less than great things about this, but I'm like still really curious. And Megan Miranda says on the front, tense and riveting. What lies inside a family is not always as it seems. It was supposed to be a celebration. How did it all go wrong? So Sweet 16. It's an exciting coming of age, a milestone, and a rite of passage. Jeff and Kim Sanders plan on throwing a party for their daughter, a good girl with excellent grades and nice friends. They're going to do, what could go wrong? So things do go wrong, and Hannah's party quickly turns into the stuff of nightmares. I don't really want to know a whole lot more than that, but I'm interested to put my 2 cents in at least. Next is Before I Knew by Jamie Beck, and this is a Cabot novel. So I don't know I think this maybe is not the first, but I hope it is, or at least it could be standalone, I hope. I don't know. On the 2nd anniversary of her husband's suicide, Colby Cabot Baxter is ready to let go of her grief and the mistakes made during her turbulent marriage. Her fresh start comes in the form of a certain tea, the restaurant she's set to open along Lake Sandy, Oregon, with help from her family. But when her executive chef quits just weeks before grand opening, Colby's pressured to hire old family friend Alec Morgan. His award-winning reputation could generate buzz, but their friendship has withered since her husband's reckless dare cost Alec's brother's life. Distracted by guilty secrets, etc., etc., etc. Secrets have a way of coming out. So I don't know. This, for 50 cents, I'll give it a shot. My hopes aren't the highest, but it's also got really good ratings on Goodreads, so I'm going to give it a shot. Next is The Lost Letters, by, let's see, who's this by? Sarah Mitchell, says right on top, and I'm looking past it, but absolutely heartbreaking wartime fiction about love and family secrets. You guys, apparently I'm into masochism, but what if keeping your loved ones safe meant never seeing them again? It's told in Canada, present day, Norfolk, 1940. So dual timeline, love it. In Canada and present day, Martha's beloved father dies, leaving her a stash of letters to an English woman called Catkins, and directions to a beach hut in an English seaside town. So that sounds interesting. Martha is at a crossroads. She decides to go to England and discover more about it. So then in Norfolk in 1940, Sylvia's husband Howard has gone off to war, and she's struggling to raise her 2 children alone. Her only solace is her beach hut in Wells, which is the place in England, and her friendship with Connie, a woman she meets on the beach. So Sylvia tells Connie something no one else knows about, a secret lover and a child, but the tragedy of war brings heartbreaking choices, and a promise made between the 2 women will echo down the years and could change everything for Martha, the girl in the present. So I really like these kind of stories. I hope it's good. It's kind of small, so 315 pages, but I like it. Next is another Lynn Austen. I think I had one of hers, Hidden Places. And this one is a deep yearning for home had led Eliza to Wyatt Orchards 10 years ago. Now widowed with 3 young children, she faces mounting debts and the realization that it's all up to her, but she has no idea how she'll run an orchard alone. So just hearing about that, like, I feel like I can put myself in the shoes of these people a little bit easier because it is very similar to my life. I'm not a widow, thank goodness. But I have 3 children, and so I think stepping into like the what ifs is interesting. And it says, when a stranger appears at her doorstep, Eliza guesses he's no different than the other out-of-luck characters searching for work during the Depression. I love Depression era stuff. But the familiarity with which Gabe tends to the farm raises unanswered questions. With a vulnerable heart, she is unwittingly drawn to his gentle ways, but Eliza also fears that Gabe hides a past and motives that could jeopardize all she has fought to attain for herself and her children. So, we'll see. Next is Out of the Easy by Ruta Sepetys. So, Ruta Sepetys is famous for writing. I think most of them are like technically young adults. They follow young people, but writing books generally about wartime or hard times or something, but in places and ways you have never heard about it before. So this is about the French Quarter in, does it say? I don't know if it says. I would assume it's historical, but I don't think it says the time. So it says, known amongst the locals as the daughter of a brothel prostitute, Josie Moraine wants more out of life than the Big Easy has to offer. She devises a plan to get out, but a mysterious death in the quarter leaves Josie tangled in an investigation that will challenge her conscience, her loyalty, and her darkest fears. Caught between the dream of an elite college and a clandestine underworld, Josie must choose between who she is now and who she longs to become, between when to hold on and when to let go. So, yeah, we'll see. I think this one is maybe one of her less popular. I'm not really for sure, but I love New Orleans. My grandmother and her sister used to go every year. That was like their place. They loved it. And so then when I have been, it's kind of like just sweet that I get to see that because of them. And so it's just, I want to read about this. It says, reminiscent of the great Southern novels, Ruta Sepetys, oh my goodness, I can't say her name, creates a rich story of secret lies and the haunting reminder that our decisions shape our destiny. Okay, Robin Carr, The Life She Wants. So this is one of Robin Carr's, I think, more women's fiction books. She writes both women's fiction and romance, and this sounds like one of her more women's fiction. Creates an emotional and uplifting ensemble of characters in this rags to riches to rags novel about women, friendship, and the complex path to happiness. That's really all I need to know. One of their husbands commits suicide and she's shattered. He stole his client's life savings to fund a lavish life in New York City. And so now she's like left with dealing with that. And only one friend stands by her, and it's a high school friend who wants her to come to Sonoma County. So sounds interesting. If you can hear, my time is running up. Etta is getting hungry, so I'm going to go through these last couple. How Sweet the Sound by Amy Sorrells. So this one also has really high ratings on Goodreads. A Southern novel about second chances. The Harlans appear to be the perfect Southern family. Wealth and local fame mask the drama and dysfunction within their family line, but as the summer heats up, a flood of long-hidden secrets surface. 3 generations, love it, come together on their pecan plantation in Bay Spring, Alabama. Chief among them is Aniston, who by the time she turned 13 thought she'd seen it all. But as her heart awakens to the possibility of love, she begins to deal with her loneliness and grief. This tender coming-of-age tale, inspired by the true story of Tamar in 2 Samuel 13, shows how true healing and hope can come only from God. So this is going to be a Christian fiction, and it's got great ratings, so let's give it a go. Then we've got Fall from Grace by Susan Krauss. So some marriages end with a bang. Some marriages end with a whimper. But in every marriage without exception, the beginning of the end is a secret. So it says Fall from Grace crosses genres. It's a psychological thriller, but where characters trump action. At the core is a murder, but more compelling is what happens to an array of relationships. Friendships, families, therapist, client, and the aftermath. So, pitting integrity against DNA and intuition against evidence, Fall from Grace challenges our middle-class illusions of control and assumptions about who will stand by us when we're faced with the unthinkable. So, I don't know. Sounds interesting. These are like very stark white pages and very like large. So, I don't know that I'll love reading this, but we'll see. It's also got good ratings, I think, so we'll see. And then the only hardback I bought, and I kind of have like buyer's remorse that I spent a whole $1 because it's not in great condition, but The Book of Two Ways, right? The Book of Two Ways, yes, by Jodi Picoult. And I don't even know what this is about, except that I love Jody, and I have not read this one. I think this is one of her lower rated. Everything changes in a single moment for Dawn Edelstein. She's on a plane when the flight attendant makes an announcement. Prepare for crash landing. Holy moly. So I am not going to be traveling anytime soon because my life is chaos and I've got 3 zoo animals. But she braces herself as thoughts flash through her mind. The shocking thing is the thoughts are not of her husband, but of a man she last saw 15 years ago, Wyatt Armstrong. So I don't want to know a whole lot more. If you can hear, there's mass chaos going on behind me, so I'm going to stop this video now. But that is everything I got from the library book sale. If you've read any of them, let me know. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.